But you
And
communicate that well. Let's move on because I want to get a few more things in. T.S. Eliot said that poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in, slash, what form is your inner consciousness in?
what form your inner consciousness in? That's a really good question. I'm not sure I can answer that. Your inner, I think it depends on the person. But I think that what a human being is an aggregate of several personalities that develop over your life, several forms of consciousness, and that a full being, a person who's fully integrated, has one of those personalities sort of win. They decide which personality, usually by their late teens, early 20s, they decide which personality they want inside them to win all the arguments. And then that becomes the dominant personality. Uh,
You know what?
and yeah,
Carolyn Casey had this guy on the other day, and Carolyn Casey's. Uh,
oh yeah,
yeah,
she's
she's
awesome.
she's
I
great.
remember.
The guy said personality is a case of mistaken identity. Okay, you answered that well. Let's move on just so we can cover more ground. Really good. George Manupelli founded the Ann Arbor Film Festival 50 years ago. His mantra is ignore yourself. Jonas Mekas
Yeah.
says there is no self-expression. Cecil Taylor says I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me. So the question is art making more self-expression or more vehicles of whatever dominant technology or culture is present? And then slash, can art making be egoless?
Well, I think this is on the verge of being the most intelligent interview I've ever been involved in. Um, so I would say that art is less self-expression and more a reflection of the medium. And I go back to the story I told earlier, making my new film Shasta. I mean, I set out with a completely different intention, actually a completely different script than the one that came out. And what was weird was I intended to I intended, when I made the film, I financed it myself, and I intended to make the film over and over and over until I had it right. And I didn't know what that meant. And so I shot the film, I edited the film, I watched the film, and I said, this sucks. And I went back and I took out everything that was good, and I rewrote everything, and I reshot everything. And I did that again. And I think my wife was starting to believe I may have lost my mind because just kept doing it and doing it. And the film that exists now, I cannot, I mean, I'm taking the writing credit on it, but I don't know if I can take the writing credit, not in all seriousness, because I don't ever remember writing the film that I have. It wrote itself. Literally, somehow, I reached into the dimensions and I reached into the other side. And Goethe says that if you set out to make something that has not been done before, powers and providences will rise up that you never knew existed and assist you. And that is the truth. I somehow, in my desperateness to make this film, I reached in and pulled stuff out of another dimension. And as Frank Zappa well knows, necessity is the mother of invention. And the necessity that I needed to have that, which is to make a good film. I wanted to make a good film. I wanted to make an entertaining, esoteric film, which is really, I don't think it's really been done very much. And by having that necessity, I invented things that had not been invented and created a script out of sheer nothing that had not never actually been put to page.
Perfect, because the whole point is to reinvent these great aphorisms. So you quoted where Frank got his title of his band, but Marshall said invention is the mother of necessity. He flipped it.
Whoa. love it.
Flip that sucker. Okay, Jay, why is it so difficult for humans to consider the possibility that life may be pointless?
Well, I think that's probably a bad place to be. It's very nihilistic, and I don't choose to have that point of view. I agree with Terence McKenna that for better or worse, we are the central characters in the grand drama of the universe, which is what alchemists also said. And I believe that life is an immense opportunity to grow spiritually, and I believe that nihilism is a bad thing. I was a nihilist, so I know from where I'm coming from, and so I've come to believe that all of art should be to evoke the spirit and the spiritual domain, and any art that does not do that or attempt to do that will fail. And ultimately, I mean, we may think it's great in the short term, but it will not live and it will not last unless it is trying to reach into the heart and show the way towards a deeply spiritual life. And so I reject nihilism, and I believe that each human being is extremely important, even the psychopaths. And we have a duty to not only as elders to show the way, to show that life is not pointless, but to, as Plato would agree, to create works of art which help society, which are designed to raise the level, raise the bar. And all those works of art which try to drag down the human race into the depths of nihilism and darkness, I think are not really very healthy for anybody.
Well put. Moshe Felding